Hey everyone, today we're going to be chatting about New World and my bruiser build. I'm more taking this video to be helpful for players who are coming back with the upcoming expansion and trying to get into the PvP. I myself used to PvP a lot for the first few months of this game, and then I took a break for a good 7 or so months. Just kind of got burned out with everything, and I've come back over the last month or so trying to learn a lot. Been with a very active PvP guild, learning the new perks lineup and everything, and got comfortable with a good Great Axe Warhammer build that we're going to focus on today. So this is the Bruiser build. Going to be going through talking about what this build is good at, the skill tree, item perks, and then kind of walking through some basic combos as well. So if any of that is interesting, be sure to like and subscribe, and you can also check the timestamps for any specific parts if you have anything that you're specifically trying to learn about. And without further ado, let's hop in. So when you have this Great Axe Warhammer, you kind of have two build styles from what I've been able to tell. You have what's called the Bruiser and then what's called the Schizo. For those who are not familiar, the Schizo is when you run a kind of melee DPS and light armor is the kind of the broad way of describing it. Typically, these are guys who are rolling around chasing down healers, trying to run some type of high DPS kind of burst damage. Sometimes it's Great Axe Warhammer. You also see guys who run Sword and Shield with this build to kind of get the Sword and Shield stuns off into some type of combo. Hatchet users as well. So that's the other type of kind of melee build that you can see. But this video will be focusing on bruisers. These are going to be your guys who are usually rocking medium loadouts on their armor. They'll be rocking the 300, 200 on the attributes and everything like that. So that is what this build is specifically looking at. And what is this build good at? Well, this is a PvP DPS and CC build. Now, obviously, with this in mind, because we're going Bruiser, while you can have some of the top DPS in the war and whatnot, this is going to be focused on, also having that survivability, having that kind of beefiness to be able to kind of consistently be a crowd control menace during PvP. So this build is strong for fighting on or around points during wars, as you'll be able to deal a lot of damage. You'll have a lot of AoE crowd control on players around point, and you'll have survivability. This build can be used for backline defense or diving enemy backlines, but you'll need to be, frankly, good at that to deal with chasing down light armor players, managing stamina cooldowns, etc. It's better to use this on or around points during wars, in my opinion. And during OPR, this will also work in a similar vein. So with the overview done, let's go ahead, hop into the skill tree, and then we'll talk item perks. So going into weapon perks and where the spec, this is my current Great Axe spec. This is what I run. I'm a big fan of. We run Charge just on its own. I know some people like to pick up Frenzy Momentum for that, depending on how far you traveled, or also like to run Unpredictable Strike. The reason I don't run these two is because I mainly use Charge for escaping from clumps and getting out. It can be used to chase people down, like to finish them, but at that point they're low enough that I don't really need this. So I don't really use it personally, is that you mainly use Charge as an escape out of like a clump or try to get out to heal and stuff in wars. And so I wouldn't recommend that unless you are like doing a chase build, and then you could pick one of these or both these up. Beyond that, we have Greed, Executioner Speed, Death's Embrace, Critical Gains, Keen Edge, Critical Condition, and Feed. I'm not going to go through and read all of these because that would just add so much time to the video. So if you need to look at them specifically, check them out in game or pause the video. I don't run Frustration because I don't really fight many tanks and not really many people I see block too much outside that. So it doesn't really add up to be worth it. And on the Mauler side of the tree, we run Maelstrom, of course, with all the perks of Storm's Reach, Absorb, and No Reprieve. The reason why is because obviously Storm's Reach gets the extra range on it. Absorb, we can use that to have the opportunity to be able to block stuff. Specifically, a big one that you would block with Absorb is actually Gravity Wells. And then No Reprieve for the extra spin. And then gains grit during this because we want that grit for the stuff that we talk about later on with the item perks. And then with Gravity Well, I just run Gravity Well with Crowded Well, just to extra bit of burst damage, 10% for each foe. So when you kind of catch a big clump on the point or whatever you're doing, you get that extra bit of damage. I don't run Unyielding. You can, if you want to drop something, be a bit more kind of supportive, giving fortified out to everyone else. But I personally just I don't run it because I want the other stuff instead, and that's Mauler's Resolve, Enduring Strike, and then Crowded Protection and Center of Attention, and then we take the ultimate of the Mauler's Fury here. And then on the Warhammer side of things, we're going to be running Wrecking Ball, Shockwave, and Path of Destiny. There are some other builds I see some people doing. I see some more common ones. Like I've seen some people running Mighty Gavel, and I've seen some clear outs. Me personally, have always run this. I like the combo of going Shockwave and the Wrecking Ball, or vice versa, depending on just cooldowns or whatever. So I think it works really well for isolating, and also works well on like big crowd points. So I like rocking that. But with that in mind, with Wrecking Ball, we run both safety measures and breathing room. We want to be able to get the fortify on this, and then as well as the expanded range on it with the radius to kind of be able to hit more people when they're like a clump or like wherever we're doing. And then on the Juggernaut side, we also have the hammer time, hardened steel, exhaustive attacks, quick recovery, and power through pain. And then on the crowd crusher side, with shockwave, we're also going to be running frailty and meteoric crater. Frailty because we want to be able to weaken the enemies. You get that off, and then when they attack you afterwards, it's weakened. And then meteoric crater is a big reason also why we take this, is because we want to get to this so we have the increased radius on this, so we hit more people and get more Southern Shockwave out, and etc etc. It makes this ability a lot stronger, so definitely would recommend making sure you get to that. And then on the Path of Destiny, we also are running seismic waves, so we stagger people with it, and then stimulated reduction. It reduces ability cooldown reduced by 5% for each enemy hit with Path of Destiny. So when you hit a clump, it reduces that cooldown by up to 25%. So obviously, the more you hit, the quicker you get back, etc. So it just makes it really strong, especially when you run Leeching Path of Destiny, so you can kind of get your sustain up a lot more with that. And with the crowd crusher side, we run Outnumbered, Facilitated Expedition, Concussive Impact, Prevailing Spirit, and then the ultimate with Aftershock. So with item perks, we're going to be focusing not on best in slot. No, I will talk about what is best in slot, but I'm going to also have a focus on 2 perk gear. And the reason why is, first, 2 perk gear is pretty cheap nowadays in New World, so it's a lot easier to obtain that and then work towards getting your best in slot gear, and kind of help you kind of get your foot back in as you kind of are trying to be a returning player and see what you need to fix and what is new and everything. So we will go over what's best in slot, but there's also going to be an emphasis on trying to find the 2 big perks on gear that you'll want. So with armor, and I'm talking no head, chest, hands, legs, and feet, obviously you're going to be wanting to get your weapon perks, but the big focus here is not necessarily the weapon perks immediately. The big focus is you want to get what is a 5-3 lineup on resilience and shirking fortification. Now what that means is you want to have all 5 gears of your armor, so your chest, head, etc. You want all those to have resilience, and at least 3 of those you want to have shirking fortification. So what shirking fortification does is when you dodge through an enemy attack, it grants fortify, increasing damage absorption for 6 seconds. And then each piece with this perk increases the potency of this effect. So the more perks you have, the more damage absorption you will have entire. So it stacks together. Now, the reason why you want to have this is obvious. As you're kind of dodging through and fighting on the point, it's going to allow you to be able to start absorbing more damage. And then, of course, you want 5 resilience. Crits are really strong in this game because how high like the base crit chance can get with perks and gear and all that. And then also with the bad luck mechanic of how when you don't crit, you kind of have a stacking effect that you can crit eventually. So more information on that can be actually found on this video here if you're curious about that. But end of the day, you want to have 5 resilience. As for the other perks, kind of the more like ability and weapon perks that you want to get with this, you're going to be aiming for Leeching Path of Destiny and Insatiable Gravity Well are going to be the big 2 on your armor that you're going to be aiming for. I think these are both must-have on the armor. The Leeching Path of Destiny for that survivability as you're fighting on point, and the Insatiable Gravity Well as well. You might be curious about Southern Shockwave. We'll get into that later. As for the Great Axe, best in slot right now for Great Axe is Thwarting Strikes, Refreshing Move, and then the Damage perk. Now, damage perks can be a shirking element, a chain, or attunement. So, for instance, a chain, you could have like a chain fire or a chain void, or whatever that may be. So the two big ones you want to get on the Great Axe will be the Thwarting Strikes and then the Refreshing Move. Those are going to be the first you want to aim for if you're going to be able to get like a 2-perker if possible. Thwarting Strikes will deal 12% additional damage while you have active grit, which the Great Axe streak gives you a lot of grit. So you want to have that. And then Refreshing Move allows you, when you do light and heavy attacks, to reduce your active weapon cooldowns by X% depending on what you're at, right? Is the reason why is that typically between your cooldowns you'll be having your Great Axe out attacking people because of the range and how it attacks and everything. And so since you're already going to be using that weapon to attack, it's going to help you get your active weapon cooldowns a lot faster, meaning that you'll be able to pump out more of your CC and more of your etc etc, and it's going to be an overall better experience for PvP for you. So with that in mind, when you can get the third perk of the damage, that'll obviously be a nice one. And again, the damage perks for the third slot in this situation are going to be a shirking element, a chain, or an attunement. Now for the Warhammer, if you have 200 weaponsmithing, then you'll want to make Yulkathir. I'll show an image here on what the ingredients are if you have 200 weaponsmithing. The reason why, and the big thing, is that you want to have the Sundering Shockwave on your hammer. Hammers aren't really used for DPS much in wars nowadays, so the big thing you want to run on it is for the extra rend from the Sundering. And then the benefits of this as well for this one specifically is you will get the Keenly Empowered, which is on the critical, you gain 15% in power for 5 seconds. Obviously that will scale, blah, blah, blah. But that's another big perk for looking for a Warhammer, is getting a Keenly Empowered. If not that, getting a hammer. If you can't make Yulkathir, then you'll need to roll for Warhammer with Sundering on it and aim to get Keen Fortified or Keenly Empowered with it. Those are going to be your 2 perkers that you want as a main thing. Obviously you can get a third perk beyond like a chain, the chain void that comes with Yulkathir or whatever you get. But like I said, the damage from hammer isn't used much in wars, and mainly use it for CC in wars. So just getting the rend with the Sundering Shockwave and then the Keenly Empowered or the Keenly Fortified are going to be the big ones for the Warhammer. And then lastly, in terms of item perks, we have the jewelry. For the amulet, you want to get slash protection and health as priorities. If you can get refreshing on top of that, bada bing, you're good to go. But those are going to be the big ones, is the slash protection and health. For your ring, the smooth bone ring is still a good one to get early on. The reason why is that you'll have the keen awareness, you have that critical chance, you'll get hardies, you have more stamina, which allows you to get more dodges in. And the leeching is nice. To be able to just get some health back as you kind of try and fight and survive. Though, while many of you might remember when the Smooth Bone Ring came out, it kind of was like best in slot. It's not necessarily the best in slot anymore. The other big one that you might want to look for is the Champions Ring from the PvP tracking system on New World. A lot of the jewelry you can actually get in general from this is really strong. But what the Champion Ring specifically does, kind of similar to the Smooth Bone Ring, you'll have the Keen Awareness and the Hardy, which are the big ones, but you drop the Leeching, and instead you get Invigorated Punishment, which is a PvP only perk. The abilities deal 2% bonus damage per buff on player. So as you're getting buffs on you and everything during fighting, you'll be able to deal 2% times how many buffs you have, max of 8 buffs. So obviously that's just a nice way of balancing if you want kind of more like life leech and kind of getting like some health back, or if you want to just deal more raw damage. With wars and everything, I would say the Champion's Ring is better. But if you're not there yet with the PvP tracker and you have a Smooth Bone Ring, you can start with that. And then lastly, earrings. With earrings, you're looking for Refreshing Toast, Purifying Toast, and Refreshing. If you can also get Refreshing War or Refreshing Evasion instead of one of those, that's fine. But the big 3 are going to be Refreshing Toast, Purifying Toast, and Refreshing. Especially when the changes to Cleansing Pots comes out, the Purifying Toast is going to be very useful for wars. If you're looking for a starter, the Teardrop isn't bad as an earring start. If you're just looking to get one that you can kind of get, it can get dropped in Barnacles and Black Powder. So if you're running that few mutations, you could get that. It has Refreshing Toast and Regenerating on it, as well as Refreshing Ward. Again, not the best per se, but it's a good start, as you'll get Refreshing Toast and Regenerating, which are 2 of the 3 that you want to get, and then you'll just get Refreshing Ward in the meantime. But best in slot would be the main 3 of Refreshing Toast, Purifying Toast, and Refreshing, I think, at this current moment. So with item perks out of the way, let's go ahead and just talk about some basic combos. And honestly, the one main basic combo you need to know, and that's going to be your Gravity Well into your Sundering Shockwave into your Maelstrom, and then DPS from there, any other abilities, and then you would use your charge to get out if you need to, or you can also use Path of Destiny, also specifically leeching Path of Destiny if you need to. That's going to be your main bread and butter combo, and then everything else, quite frankly, is just going to come from skill and situations. So I hope this returning player guide for the Bruiser build was helpful. I want to have a chance, as I just went through this myself of trying to figure out what of my old gear is good, what's bad, what can I use, what can I use, and trying to figure out what am I trying to roll for, what am I trying to buy, like what am I doing to be able to get competitive in PvP. And through a lot of work and trying to figure out a lot of help from the company I'm in, and just through various forums I look at and videos I've watched, I've put this together. So I hope this is super helpful. And if it is, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Peace out.